For 30 years, he walked the streets in a bathrobe, mumbling to himself, urinating in public, completely lost in his own mind. Doctors examined him. Courts declared him insane. The FBI watched him wander aimlessly, convinced they were looking at a broken man. They were wrong. Dead wrong. Behind that madness sat one of the most powerful criminals America has ever known. A man who fooled psychiatrists, judges, and federal agents for 3 decades while secretly running an empire of money, murder, and silence. And the only person who ever brought him down wasn't the FBI. It was his own son. This is the story of Vincent Gigante. He was born in 1928 on a street in Manhattan ruled entirely by the Italian mob, a place where police barely dared to patrol, and where every young boy grew up believing that being a gangster meant being a real man. Vincent's father died when he was only 5, leaving his mother to raise him alone. But the streets had other plans. By 14, Vincent was already spending his time in the gambling halls where mob men gathered. He was sharp, strong, and impossible to ignore. The men around him took a liking to him, not just because he was clever, but because he was Italian, and in their world, that meant something. Soon he was running games for them, and everyone around him kept saying the same thing: "One day, you'll be one of us." But then something unexpected happened. Vincent discovered boxing. He fell in love with it completely. He quit the gambling halls, threw himself into training, and, using his older brother's identity to get around the age limit, turned professional at just 16. Over the next 3 years, he fought 25 matches, winning 21, 18 by knockout. For the first time, Vincent had a dream that had nothing to do with the mafia. The mob wasn't going to let that happen. In 1947, 3 men in suits walked into his gym and waited for him to finish training. They offered him money, more than he'd ever make in boxing, for one simple job. He refused, so they gave him a warning instead. Refuse again, and something accidental might happen to him, or to someone he loved. Vincent took the job. It was meant to be a one-time thing. It wasn't. Mob men started showing up at his fights. Before one match, a man leaned in and told him to lose. They had money riding on it. Vincent lost that fight by knockout. Soon after, he walked away from boxing for good. There was no way out anymore. He belonged to them now. What Vincent didn't know was that none of this was random. The man orchestrating everything was Vito Genovese, a mob boss locked in a bitter power struggle with the reigning head of the entire American mafia, Frank Costello. Genovese needed someone loyal, invisible, and deadly to eliminate his rival, and Vincent fit perfectly. He was groomed for one purpose: to kill Costello. On May 3, 1957, Vincent walked into Costello's building and waited by the elevator. When the doors opened, he fired 4 shots at point-blank range. 2 hit the shoulder, 2 hit the head, and somehow, impossibly, Costello survived, the bullets missing every vital point. Costello knew exactly who had shot him, but he said nothing. Instead, he stepped down as boss, handed leadership to Genovese, and later pulled up beside Vincent in his car to tell him quietly he'd recognized him all along, but killing him wasn't worth the war it would start. It was safer to walk away. With Genovese now in charge, Vincent became his right hand, and when Genovese was later imprisoned on drug charges, it was Vincent who truly ran things from the outside. When Genovese died in 1969, Vincent was elected boss. He was only 41. What he built next had never been seen before. Vincent banned killing among Italians outright, outsourcing violence to trained outside gangs so no evidence could ever trace back to the family. He forbade members from using real names. He made it illegal to even speak his own name aloud. Members had to gesture toward their chin instead. Secrecy became the mafia's new religion, and under it, the organization quietly took over construction companies, casinos, hotels, and legitimate businesses across the country, all while the government looked the other way. There was just one problem: a flashy, media-hungry mob boss named John Gotti, who loved cameras more than caution. Vincent ordered 6 attempts on his life. All of them failed. Gotti eventually asked for a truce and appeared to retreat from public life completely. Everyone assumed Gotti had backed down. In truth, it was the beginning of the greatest con in mafia history. Gotti reappeared in the spotlight, baited federal agents into a deal, and helped frame Vincent on drug charges, all according to a secret plan the two men had agreed on together. It was never really a war. It was theater, designed to convince the FBI they'd won. And Vincent played his part perfectly. Under examination, he mumbled, stumbled, and lost control of his body, thanks to pills he kept hidden inside a tooth filling, swallowed moments before each psychiatric evaluation. Doctors, courts, and investigators all reached the same conclusion: the man was genuinely insane. For 30 years, it worked. Twice, agents nearly caught him slipping. Once when he greeted a passing driver by name like a perfectly sane man, and again when he sprinted from an oncoming car without a hint of his usual stagger. Both times, he caught himself instantly. The unraveling finally began in 1992, when Gotti's own underboss, Salvatore Gravano, cut a deal with prosecutors and confessed everything on live television, including the truth about Vincent. Still, there was no hard proof. It took 5 more years and a quiet FBI campaign spreading jokes among mob members that their boss was a laughingstock before members began turning on him. Vincent was finally imprisoned in 1997, still legally declared insane. But the mafia kept running smoothly from behind bars. Investigators eventually discovered why. Vincent's own son, Andrew, had become the new frontman, taking orders straight from his father. In 2003, an investigator sat down across from Vincent and made him an offer: confess the truth, take the charges himself, and his son would serve only 5 years instead of life. Vincent opened the file in front of him with trembling, practiced hands, the performance of a madman, just like always. Then he stopped shaking. He sat up straight. He asked for a cigarette and looked the investigator dead in the eye. "You are the only person in 35 years to see the real face of Vincent Gigante." He died in prison 3 years later. And within a few years of his fall, the American Mafia, once the most feared organization in the country, became a shadow of what it used to be. Because for 3 decades, it wasn't luck or violence or fear that kept it alive. It was one man pretending to be broken while quietly holding it all together.